Sis and tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up. Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. How are you today?
I'm today, this minute, this millisecond. I'm okay for now.
Okay. Okay. Good. That's all. Let's start with okay. I mean, you don't have the daddy response, which is fantastic.
Every day's a great day.
I read the obituaries every day, and I hadn't seen my name yet. I must be doing okay.
That's right.
He actually stole that from George Burns, but it's still a good line.
Oh, George Burns.
I know.
I always felt like Papa, who was our dad's dad, looked like George Burns. There was something, maybe it was they were both tiny and had gray hair. I think that was about it.
So I will admit that since George Burns played God in that movie, Oh God, and don't forget Oh God Part 2.
Oh God, you double?
Yeah, I do. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I always picture God as, well, I will say either George Burns or Morgan Freeman. I oscillate between the two.
I've had my kids try and watch that. This was like a year ago, and it was so slow. They couldn't even get past the trailer. They're like, this looks awful. I'm like, no, it's a good movie. It's George Burns. Like, they don't know George Burns. They don't know Bob Hope. Whatever.
None of the greats.
No, they're binging Malcolm in the Middle. You know, the decisions we make during this pandemic, some are good, some are bad when it comes to TV. I've been watching a lot of pilots and then not going past that.
I know. I saw somebody today wrote on Facebook, I've watched a lot of first seasons of a lot of shows and then just stopped. So
yeah. And people are making weird purchases. Have you made any weird purchases? Like any kitchen gadgets or anything weird? Or have your friends?
Well, I bought an air fryer early on. And
right.
Now that you say that, I haven't used it since I bought it. I used it for the first week, got really excited. But it's so giant, right? It's so big. If we're doing throwback TV shows, it looks like the egg that Mork from Ork landed in. It's like ginormous. So I have a place that I can store it under my counter so it doesn't take up counter space if I'm not using it. But when you get it out, it's huge.
I don't understand air fryers. Look, my oven does the same thing. I just put it on convection.
I know. And we bought a big green egg. So that's something.
Aaron got the Komodo, which is
very similar.
The knockoff. It's basically the same thing, except it's red. It's not green, and I think it's cheaper because it's not called the big green egg. But he's trying to figure out how to use it still, and I feel like he needs a tutorial.
It's a lot. Well, to be fair, the big green egg was a gift, but now that we have it, I'm in charge. I'm always in charge of cooking and barbecuing, and
it's too much planning. It's way too much planning.
Well, and I've made a few things that don't take as long, like chicken wings and cedar plank salmon, which was delicious. But when I made brisket on there, I'm telling you, I had to babysit that sucker all day because you have to keep it at a really low temp and you can set it, but you can't forget it. And I guess there's all these appliances.
Like that rotisserie
like
chicken
the Ronco,
maker.
Right.
Yeah.
Set it and forget it. So not that I watch TV a lot, but I know every infomercial from the 1980s. So you have to set it, and then I walked away for 2 hours. I had kept the temperature at 225 or whatever it's supposed to be. I walked away for 10 minutes. I come back. It's shot up to 350. I'm like, what are you doing?
You just let out the heat from the top thing.
Well, that's the other thing. So you have to let
chimney.
It's all about the air flow, right? So there's a screen, there's an opening on the bottom, there's a thing at the top, and you have to master that control. It's like trying to learn. It's like trying to learn to drive a stick shift car, right? And you have to find that balance between the clutch and the accelerator, right, and the gas. And so once you do it, I think it's easier. I've cooked on it a lot, so I'm still trying to figure it out. But I will say the food I cook on there is delicious. It's really good.
Well, it's too high maintenance for me. And Aaron keeps on trying to use it at 7:00 at night.
Right.
I'm like,
he'll be up till 2 in the morning. No.
We can't put the steaks on it right now. Because then you have to heat up charcoal, right? I don't want to do anything where I have to heat up charcoal. That's just like
No.
you
Well,
should
and I don't
see
even
him,
like
though.
dinner most of the time, right? Like last night, I cooked this whole dinner for us. Well, for all of us, which is now down to 3 of us since we only have one child left in the home. And so I made fish and I made broccoli and all this. And by the time I served it, this is what happens. Like at least a couple nights a week, I'm like, nah, I don't want it. And Alan and Levi are like, what do you mean you don't want it? I'm like, I don't want it. I think I just have a glass of whiskey. So that was
nice.
that was a good
wine.
dinner. Yeah.
Did I tell you what Aaron does with our fire pit?
No.
Which is like a little too Georgia hot right now for a fire pit, even though it sounds like, I don't know why people like to do fire pits during the summertime. It's just too much heat. But he's so impatient with like creating a fire. Not only does he literally have a blowtorch,
Literally.
like something he has to hook up to a propane tank to set the wood on fire, then to fan the flames and make them bigger, he gets out the leaf blower. So there's like embers going everywhere and smoke and it gets really big. But he tried to do that with the Komodo.
Oh no.
Or the smoker, just to because this is when he started dinner at like 7:00 at night. So I'm like, oh my God, where are the fire extinguishers?
Yeah, that sounds like a terrible plan. So what have you bought? What have you bought in this pandemic?
You know, I really haven't bought anything unusual. I'm looking around being like, what have I bought? And it's really not, I can't really think of anything that's unusual. Maybe it'll come to me, but I do have friends who, so many people are getting like pandemic puppies.
Yeah.
And I have friends who bought, are you ready for this?
Okay.
Pandemic ponies.
No, they did not.
Yes.
Where are they keeping them?
In their backyard.
No, they're not.
And they don't live on a farm. They live 10 minutes from me in Atlanta.
Oh, come on.
They live in Atlanta.
There's got to be a rule against that.
No, there's not. I asked. She said as long as they're like a certain amount away from the homes, they're fine. And they have a really deep backyard. Her husband is like, she's a teacher. He's a professor, but he's also like a physicist professor, right? So he can do anything and he's super strong. And he built them a barn and the ponies are small. They're small ponies. They're rescue ponies. They're not full-size horses.
They're rescue miniature ponies?
Like their daughter, who is 8, is taller than the ponies.
Wow.
But they're not like the miniature pony. They're not like the dwarf ponies. They're not like, like the kind
right, that's what I'm picturing. Okay, that's a dwarf
right,
pony.
like that are like, no, they're like, they look like horses, like the same stature and measurements or whatever, the ratios of like a horse, but smaller, and they're 15 years old.
Oh,
so
how long does a pony live?
I don't know.
I mean, is it going to die in a year? That'd be
all
really
I can tell
sad.
you is that I looked into getting a pig and then found out they can live 30 to 40 years, and I'm like, no way, that's way too much of a commitment.
Way too
right.
long.
Like even like the dogs, like we got rescue dogs for so many reasons, and one of the reasons was because I could get them as adults, so I knew by the time the kids go to college, the dogs would be gone.
You'd be a legitimate empty nester.
Yes. I'm like, and Ruby's already talking about when Milo dies, can we get another Great Pyrenees? And I'm like, no, I'm not getting another dog. I want to be like, I don't want to have to clean up after anyone. I've had enough poop in my life. I went upstairs. I hear Murray. I don't know if Levi is staying up until like 5 in the morning, like my children are, but I heard him at like 1 in the morning. I go upstairs to check on him. He was not up there. He was, I'm assuming, down in the kitchen. And I looked right outside of his doorway. It looked like a piece of poo-poo, right? And I'm like, oh no, did K-Boo, who is our lab, did she in a rescue? I go, did she poop outside his door? She's never pooped inside. It was so, and I was like, oh, this is so disgusting. So I had to get like... So I had to get like a paper towel or toilet paper, and I pick it up and realize this is not poo-poo.
Was it a baby Ruth?
It looked exactly like, did look like a baby Ruth. I took a bite out of it, and it was more of like a Snickers. No, it was. So then I was like, what in the world was that? And it ends up Ruby is on this pranking spree, and she's found how to like make a toilet paper roll look like poo-poo. And she like wet it and scrunched it up.
Oh, come on.
And because it's like the same color, and she left it
out. That is brilliant.
She left it outside his door. I mean, I'm telling you, that thing looked like a piece of poo. And I was convinced that my dog had started pooping in the house.
Wait, so how did you figure out Ruby did it? She confessed?
Because then I went down to the kitchen and Ruby was awake because she heard Murray and she wants to do whatever he's doing. And I thought I found a piece of poo. And then she quickly started laughing and he looked at me and goes, Ruby keeps on pranking me. So that's what that was. But mostly her pranks are like leaving Post-it notes saying prank wars. That's all. Like, it's not even really a prank.
It's on. You don't know when it's on.
It's a prank war. I'm like, she doesn't even know. And I'm like queen of pranks. If she knew all the pranks I used to pull on my boss at Cartoon Network or when I worked at camp. Worst job ever. What was your worst job ever? Mine was being a camp counselor where I had this. Did I tell you this? When I was a camp counselor for 12-year-olds, okay, already a nightmare. People would not send their kids to camp on the medicine they should have been on. I was left as an 18-year-old dealing with these children. And one of them, who I guess needed attention and was jealous of this other girl, decided to steal her retainer and she put it in her mouth.
I feel like you told me this because why would anybody steal a retainer? It's not going to fit you.
But she made it fit her. Look, my retainer doesn't fit me anymore.
Right. My retainer doesn't fit me. It's certainly not going to fit somebody else. So.
Right. I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to retain my sanity at that point. But it was so gross. And then she would yell like, I hate you to me. Which was like I don't know, like a little peek into future being a mom. And it was awful. And I'm like, I don't get paid enough to do this, to deal with your children who are not on medication, who need to be. That's my worst job ever.
So I take this with the respect intended, but you seem a little wound up today. I don't know if it's the quarantine finally hitting you, but you've jumped from subject to subject in a very short amount of time, shorter than normal. And I just wanted to make sure, are you on your meds? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you stressed? You feel a little frenetic today. And for me to say that to you, that must mean there's something significantly maybe different.
School starts on Monday.
There it is. And you're virtual, right? 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm starting school, right?
It's a lot. It's a stress. It's hard.
Yeah. I just put all their different schedules in the Google Calendar. So I'm looking at it being like, oh my God, really? First period sucks. I have social studies, math, and ELA all at the same time.
What time does school start for them?
Morning announcements are at 8:50 or 8:45, depending on if you're in high school or middle school.
Oh, that's good. At least it's not 7:30. That's
right.
brutal.
No, it was never.
But then here's a question: Are you also the lunch lady? Like, do you have to provide lunch every day? I assume the answer is yes. I don't know who else will.
So our school is actually offering where the cafeteria will still make food, and you can go do pickup.
Okay.
Right? So, which I love, which I may at one point opt into.
Can they walk there? They can't walk there to pick it up.
It's too far away.
Like you couldn't combine recess and lunch, right? Where you like send them out, they grab their lunch.
That would be amazing.
I know.
No, I wish, but no, I did like a survey of what will you eat? And that I'm like, is there anything? I feel like the cafeteria food's so easy to make, but Oscar just keeps on asking me to make sloppy joes, which is just not happening. But sloppy joes are delicious.
I mean, that is so funny because my neighbor the other day, we were talking, every time I see him, how are you? How are you? What's for dinner? Right? Those are the typical conversations. So I said, cooking on the big green egg. He said, oh, I made sloppy joes. And I had the same reaction. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a sloppy joe. I think legitimately since I was in day camp at the JCC in Birmingham, and they would serve us sloppy joes once a week. And the funniest thing is the art teacher, do you remember Joe Malazzo of blessed memory?
Oh,
so
I love
Joe Malazzo, who was our art teacher and like the most amazing storyteller and personality ever. And he just could literally enrapture an audience of children just by like telling a ghost story. And we would eat sloppy joes, and he had convinced all of us that they were named after him, that this was
my God,
a delicacy known around the world called sloppy joes because of Joe Malazzo.
Can't you see him like on the weekends starring in a drag show? I can.
I know.
He was so beyond his years amazing.
He
Not
was.
beyond
He was
his years,
like a Harvey
beyond that
Firestein,
decade.
right? He was
Yes.
that sort of personality.
Harvey Firestein. Exactly. If I was going to cast anyone in our childhood as Joe Malazzo, it would be Harvey Firestein.
Yeah.
He was like, I remember they would have like a fair during camp, and he would always play the fortune teller, and he had a sign that says, "Do you want your palm red?" And all he would do is paint your palm red. He would like paint it.
Hilarious.
But he would dress up, and he was the best story. He was like a one-man show, every day.
He was. Oh my
I wish he was still alive. I would love to give him a hug.
Well, you couldn't even do that.
Anyone.
You just love to hug anybody at this point. Yeah.
I know. Did I tell you the story of how I met my friend's husband like recently, like a few weeks ago, and I shook his hand?
Oh no. Like visceral, like you just didn't think about it?
I just did it. I don't know. I just did it, and then he left the room and he came back in, and I was like, I am so sorry I shook your hand.
I'm so sorry. And then you gave him a hug.
Right. Then I licked his face.
And then I spit in his drink. It was fine.
Like, it's okay. I understand I'm a handshaker.
And then the High School Musical theme song came on. We're all in this together.
Right? Yeah, I would say I'm a hugger, but my sister says I'm a lip kisser.
Oh
man.
I'm never going to be a lip kisser. I acknowledge you are. You are.
I'm not. I'm not.
Well, not anymore. I hope now you're just a handshaker. That's being a COVID handshaker is the equivalent of being a normal time lip kisser. Let's just be clear. It's still off-putting to people.
Just being near someone without a mask on is being a lip kisser. I feel like we have to define lip kisser. We did a whole episode about this first season of the podcast where Alison and was Stuart on that call, our brother Bubba, aka Stuart, where we had a little intervention with me where they told me I am a lip kisser.
Okay, everybody knows what a lip kisser is because it actually is defined in the words themselves.
By the name.
Because you are lip kissing. This is not, there's nothing elusive about it. There's nothing mysterious. If you say I'm a lip kisser, I think people know you kiss people on the lips who are not necessarily your spouse or partner.
Well, God, now you're making me sound like slutty. I am.
I mean,
what is that?
Look, you are wearing a negligee on the podcast right now. So what do you?
I'm not. It does look like I'm naked. So Ruby's like back to school shopping on this website, and all of the clothes are like these outfits that come together, and they're tube tops and like short shorts. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. She's not going to school in person. Who cares? And they're like $5, right? If she wants to lounge around in that. And then I was like, oh my God, no, she's going to be on Google Classroom video calls for school, and she's just going to look naked. So you can't wear it to school.
Sorry,
virtual
you can't
school.
look naked on virtual school. That's really important.
Do I look naked right now? I've got straps. You can see.
No, you don't look naked. But you said that I was insinuating you look slutty. You could look slutty. I mean, in a good way, in a sophisticated way. Sophisticated slutty.
Doesn't Mommy have a nickname for us that's like Slut Puppy? She's a Slut Puppy. Did she ever call you?
You think our mother that uses a nickname Slut Puppy for either one of us? Really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think Mommy has called me Slut Puppy before, and she calls me Priss Pot. She?
Yes, because she calls a lot of people Priss Pot, and some people think she's saying Piss Pot.
Yeah, my freshman year roommate thought she was saying Piss Pot.
Yeah, I knew there was a story in there. So yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Short.
And then she also calls us Baby Doll. And now I call other people Baby Doll. And I had no idea where I got it from because it's like one of those things that was so ingrained that I never differentiated it from other things she said to us, right? So all of a sudden I'm like, why do I say Baby Doll? And then one day she goes, hey, Baby Doll. I'm like, it's a pass down. Yeah.
We can't tell her what our nicknames are for her behind her back. So we'll keep that.
Now she's listening and now she's going to call us. Great job, Amanda. Yes. How do you stir the pot? You just add salt and get out your spoon. So I do have some good news. So I don't know if she ever gave them to you, but Mimi used to give me, and I feel like all of us, giant, I'm gonna start it. It's gonna be like a game show. You have to fill in the blank. Giant jars of say it.
Pennies, coins.
Yes, both. Yeah. So she used to give us giant jars of coins or pennies, mostly pennies. And I would always, first of all, if you've ever held a glass jar in your hand, it's somewhat heavy, empty. You fill that glass jar with hundreds of coins, and especially copper pennies. That jar is nearly impossible to lug around. And I've got a ton like in our closet. And because I'm like, what do I do with them? Should I convert them? I think some are like really old ones and things like that. Well,
did you take them to a coin dealer?
I did not. And I've got a whole bunch of coins that I guess Mimi gave us too, because I've got like, and I'm sure you do too, like silver dollars and old coins. I don't know what to do with them. But we just got an article from a friend of ours, Helen, who is like, we call her the penny lady. Not only she happens to have copper colored hair, it's very beautiful, but whenever she would see the boys at synagogue, especially, she would like give them pennies, like just as like a little like gift, like a fun thing. And so we started calling her the penny lady. And then she started taping pennies to the inside of their birthday cards, as many pennies as their age, right? Those cards became pretty heavy also to mail. So the last card she sent us, not for someone's birthday, but it had an article. She said, this card does not contain any pennies, and you'll see why. And it was an article about there being a coin shortage, and that for some reason, right, the manufacturing and whatever the pandemic has done, maybe it just happens to coincide, but there's a coin shortage. And I immediately turned to Al and I said, Mimi strikes again, right? Not only was she good with money when she was alive, but she anticipated, I think, that one day pennies would be a commodity and that we would need them. And so other people are collecting, I don't know, gold, silver, real estate stocks.
Elvis plates.
Yeah, we've got pennies and coins.
So many.
I don't know what to do with them, but
they're all, and I used to give them to the kids for when they would lose tooth and I would forget. I was the worst tooth fairy. Oh my God, I was the worst tooth fairy. And then there's like, nothing will get me to give my child a $20 bill quicker than forgetting to give them a tooth fairy money. It's but those coins, I would sometimes remember that I had those underneath, and I would go put them underneath their pillow, but like the gold ones,
Right. And I've got some of those too. I've got to go find them. I mean, I've got some are in their own little wrappers. I mean, like a real coin collector. Yeah. What I need to do is drive out to Vegas and go to those guys who do that show, Pawn Stars. You ever see that on like TLC? Yes. And go ask them what it's worth. I feel like then I'd get on the show and get a good deal. It'd be a win-win. You can come with me.
It's so high maintenance to go through those because I tried to look up.
They're also dirty.
They're dirty, and then they're not in good condition. And for the coins to be worth something, they have to be in good condition. Although I'm sure there's some that are worth something.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, so I have those.
Congratulations. That is great news. I was so worried about coin shortage in the United States, so now I feel so much better. Maybe
you're going to see this. Now people are going to look, you're going to start going through like drive-throughs or seeing things in we went to one the other day. I can't remember where. And there was a sign on it that said, sorry, we have a coin shortage here. Please give us exact change or a credit card. I'm not joking. Yeah. It's everywhere.
I know you're not joking because I've seen those signs.
Have you?
Yeah. I've seen it.
Okay. So in other news, because, we're basically quarantined with each other for the past 5 months, Alan has not stopped talking about what he can do to plan for my 50th birthday party, which and I say the word party in air quotes because I do not want a party. I've never wanted a party, even in normal times, right? I'm not really into birthdays. And my goal for my 50th year, what I told him was, and I borrowed this from someone else, we may have discussed it, but my celebration was to celebrate everybody, right? So because all of my elementary school and high school and college friends, everybody's turning 50 this year.
You're like a hobbit. Does that mean you're going to give me a gift when I see you on your birthday?
No, it means that I wanted like total like flexibility and that he would say yes, that if I wanted to go to someone else's birthday party, right? We started the year off going to a surprise birthday party in Tampa, and then we were going to go to this other one in Atlanta. Like other people I knew would be having celebrations, and those celebrations would help me celebrate this whole 50th year. Well, then COVID hit in March and we haven't gone anywhere. So we've been around talking about mine, which comes up Labor Day weekend. And it's fine. And of course, we were all supposed to go to Florida to be with our family. And that got, all of the traditional plans got canceled. I'm not doing this to feel sorry for myself. I'm doing this more in context of Alan is like a dog with a bone. And I love him because how he just wants to celebrate. But he won't. Every time there is a lull in the conversation, he's like, okay, so what are we going to do for your birthday? And I've tried very gently to say, it's just... It's not, I don't, it's fine. I just want to be with people. I don't want a big to do. I don't even like birthday cake. I don't even like birthday cake because I don't like icing.
How do we do anything for you? What am I going to do? You don't need anything. You have everything you want, but you also don't need things anyway.
Right. Well, I like experiences. I decided I really like experiences. Like those are the best gift these days, right?
But we can't even get you an experience.
So that's right. So, but if y'all come, I think if y'all come to Chattanooga and have experience. So one of the things, so we started talking about food. He started naming all these things that, of course, first he's like, okay, great, we'll barbecue on the Big Green Egg. I'm like, that means I'll barbecue on the Big Green Egg. And we've already discussed it. That's like 10 hours of my day.
Can we get someone else to make food?
I know.
Taco Mamacita. I love that place.
I know. I love Taco Mama. Like we started naming all my favorite food, which of course the appetizers, this is another game show. So the appetizers will be my favorite food, which will be...
Taco Mamacita. Guacamole and chips.
You're close.
Chips, whiskey.
Close.
Onion dip.
Okay. Onion dip. Chips and dip.
Newlywed game.
Yes, it was a newlywed game. So chips and dip.
In the butt Bob. Sorry.
For the people who don't know that reference, that was going to be really out of left field.
Look it up.
So yeah, so
look it up.
We easily decided chips and dip will definitely be a staple for whatever celebration, right? Because I'm obsessed and addicted to chips and dip. I actually just like dip in general. Anything you can dip something into, right? I like guacamole. I like salsa. I like onion dip. I like
tapas based off of dips.
Yeah. Well, he also had a good idea because the funniest is we were talking about this and Alan's like, well, and he's naming all of these things. And finally, Abe says, Dad, don't you get it? Mom doesn't even really like dinner. She loves breakfast and then sometimes eats a little lunch. And by the time dinner comes around, she might have a nibble. And I started laughing so hard. I go, oh my God, that's exactly my life. How do you know that? He goes, because I pay attention. I'm like, yes, you do. Okay. You know me very well. So on our 7-hour car ride back from dropping Abe at college, we had, of course, a lot of time to start talking about this and planning out the meal. And what we came up with will just satisfy everybody. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Because imagine, like, you're going to be there. Sadly, Stuart and Melissa can't be there, but Mom and Dad. And I was like, what is everybody going to eat that they love? New York bagels and lox and whitefish and cream cheese.
All
the
my
best,
kids will
right?
eat that. Yeah.
I mean, all that. Breakfast for dinner, which is
I
exactly
love breakfast for dinner.
what I love, right? So, and you don't have to cook it. All you have to do is toast it, right? At the very least. Or the very most, toast bagels.
Everything bagel, double toasted.
Yeah.
Cream cheese.
So, and for people who actually live in a city where you can get bagels, we can't even buy bagels here unless they're from the grocery. We have no access to actual, like,
oh my God.
Bagels in a deli.
Growing up, we had to get Linder bagels from the frozen section. That was like the international food, was the frozen Linder bagels.
Oh my gosh, I just thought of the best birthday gift.
The Jews eat the Linda bagels.
I know what you can get me for my birthday. I have it.
H&H
No.
bagels.
No.
What?
Okay, we were talking about bagels and growing up. Now you have to put the pieces together one more time for the end of our game show. Hold on. What can you get me for my 50th birthday? Amanda.
A Birmingham bagel or the recipe to the Birmingham bagels.
From which store?
Brody's.
Yeah! You got it. Yes. And we've discussed this before. Brody's restaurant. They had these awesome egg bagels. They were almost like undercooked and they were doughy and delicious.
They were half baked and you would finish baking them in your toaster. That was the point of them. But Daddy would just eat them raw.
We would just eat them raw. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But literally, like all through college, when I lived in Chicago, like anytime they were coming up or seeing me, we would get a dozen Brody's bagels because they were so scrumptious. And then Brody's went out of business and they wouldn't give the recipe to anybody. So you're going to have to figure this out. Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen. I'll find out from Daddy who I need to
All right.
contact.
And you're a great baker. So you bake some of the hardest Sephardic foods that we make, including the spinach filled boyas. So the first batch you're going to have to actually perfect. And then you're going to have to give me the recipe after you've perfected it. That's my entire birthday gift. So you have 3 weeks to secure a recipe that is not public, that has probably gone to the grave with the Brody family, and to perfect it in your home. Have you ever made a bagel, cooked a bagel, boiled a bagel?
So I did buy all the ingredients to make bagels, including this very special, it's like this malt syrup that you put into the water when you boil them in there, which I don't know how they make the Birmingham bagels, but Joel Silverman was so sweet and bought this for me because I couldn't find it anywhere. He bought it for me, gave it to me, and I've had this jar in my pantry for like 2 years because I never made the bagels, but just in case I have that.
Just in case.
And I've got the King Arthur's flour.
Yeah.
Right? The bread flour.
I feel like it's going to be a lot of eggs because they were very yellow.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
a lot
yellow.
A lot of yolks. So I will say, this is a great challenge.
I'm going to do it.
I know. And like, this is what I said in the beginning. I just want experiences. And if you can give me and our family, I'm not going to tell anybody. Well, they're going to all hear it on the podcast. So anyway, but if you can give us the experience of that,
bagel.
nostalgic eating of the Birmingham bagel, that will not just be a gift for me. I think it will be a gift for all of us.
I'm so excited to look into this.
Good. See?
I'm going to make it happen.
Yes.
If there's anyone listening from Birmingham and you're Jewish or not, and you know how we can get in touch with the Brody family and you can help us convince them to also get us this recipe, we will do something really nice for you. I don't know what that is, but we will forever love you. We'll give you a shout out. We'll send you some Sis and Tell swag, which we need to reprint. We'll do something nice. Help us out.
And do it like maybe a hashtag like Brody Bagels for the big birthday or Brody Bagels for the big 5-0. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. That's a
long hashtag. That's why you're in charge of marketing.
I'm just going to do some phone calls. I don't think we need a hashtag. But if you're going to create a hashtag for anything, it should be hashtag Sis and Tell podcast. We love it when you share us with your friends and when you go on a walk and you listen to us and you let us know. But let us hear how you're enjoying the podcast. Leave us a review on iTunes, or I guess it's called Apple Podcasts now, wherever you listen.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.
Sis and Tell.